In the octagon, Conor McGregor was unstoppable. His left hand, a weapon of mass destruction, felled champions and contenders alike. But outside of the cage, a different battle raged, one that would ultimately prove his undoing. From the heights of simultaneous two-division UFC champion to the depths of assault charges and misconduct allegations, McGregor's journey is a cautionary tale of unchecked ego and the corrupting influence of fame. This is the story of a man who had it all and then lost it in spectacular fashion.
So when people say they with it, it's like they with me, and that feels cool.
The streets of Crumlin, a working class neighbourhood in Dublin, were no place for the faint of heart. It was here, amidst the gritty backdrop of urban Ireland, that a young Conor McGregor first learned to use his fists. At 18, McGregor stepped into the cage for his first amateur MMA fight. The raw talent on display that night was undeniable. His opponent, taken aback by the ferocity of McGregor's attacks, barely lasted a minute before succumbing to a flurry of punches. Fate intervened in the form of John Kavanagh, the founder of Straight Blast Gym Ireland. Kavanagh, a pioneering figure in Irish MMA, saw something special in the brash young fighter from Crumlin. Under his tutelage, McGregor's raw potential began to take shape. The gym became his second home, a place where he could fully dedicate himself to the craft of fighting. As McGregor's skills sharpened, so too did his ambition. He set his sights on Cage Warriors, a respected European MMA promotion that had served as a launching pad for many UFC fighters. It was here that the wider world got his first glimpse of the fighter who would become known as the Notorious One. Conor's performances in Cage Warriors were nothing short of electrifying. His left hand, already a fearsome weapon, proved devastating against his opponents. But it wasn't just his fighting prowess that captivated audiences. McGregor possessed a magnetic charisma, a larger-than-life personality that demanded attention both inside and outside the cage. Whispers of his exploits reached across the Atlantic. Dana White, the president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, caught wind of the Irish phenom tearing up the European circuit. White saw in McGregor the potential for something truly special. The call from the UFC came, offering McGregor a chance to prove himself on the world's biggest stage. On April 6, 2013, Conor McGregor made his UFC debut against Marcus Brimage in Stockholm, Sweden. In just 67 seconds, McGregor dismantled Brimage with a series of precise, powerful strikes. The knockout was emphatic, a statement of intent from a fighter who refused to be ignored. As the referee weighed off the fight, McGregor leapt atop the cage, arms raised in triumph. In that moment, a star was born. Conor McGregor's ascent in mixed martial arts wasn't merely meteoric, it was a seismic shift that reshaped the sport's landscape. The brash Irishman's unique blend of precision striking and psychological warfare created a perfect storm that captivated audiences worldwide. McGregor's fighting style was a revolution, combining lethal counter-striking with a devastating signature move, the pullback left-hand counter. This weapon became so feared that opponents hesitated to engage, playing right into McGregor's hands. But McGregor's true power lay in his ability to dominate both inside and outside the cage. His trash talk, inspired by Muhammad Ali, evolved into an art form that softened opponents long before they stepped into the octagon. McGregor's verbal jabs were as precise and damaging as his physical ones, earning him the moniker Mystic Mac. When his audacious predictions came true, he fought like a modern-day Achilles, his invincibility seemingly assured by his own unwavering belief. As McGregor's highlight reel grew, so did the hype surrounding him. Each victory was a statement that a new era in MMA had arrived. The UFC, recognizing the goldmine they had unearthed, built their marketing machine around the charismatic Irishman. Press conferences became must-see events, with fans and media alike waiting for McGregor's next outrageous statement or flamboyant outfit. The build-up to McGregor's fight with Jose Aldo, the long-reigning featherweight champion, was unprecedented. A 12-day world tour spanning 8 cities across 5 countries elevated the bout from a championship fight to a global event. McGregor's sharp tongue and unshakable confidence chipped away at Aldo's composure, turning the Brazilian champion into a seething rival before the eyes of the world. When the cage door finally closed at UFC 194, years of hype converged into a single moment. In just 13 seconds, McGregor landed the left hand that sent Aldo crashing into the canvas, along with the MMA world's collective jaw. It was a coronation, cementing McGregor's status as the new king of the featherweight division and validating his Mystic Mac persona in the eyes of millions. But for Conor, one championship wasn't enough. He set his sights on an unprecedented achievement achievement, holding titles in 2 weight classes simultaneously. At UFC 205, McGregor faced Eddie Alvarez for the lightweight championship. In a masterful performance, McGregor dismantled Alvarez, showcasing the striking precision and power that had become his hallmark. When the final blow landed, McGregor didn't just win a second title, he rewrote the rules of what was possible in the sport. But Conor's reign atop the MMA world wasn't enough to satisfy his ambition. The brash Irishman set his sights on an even more audacious goal, a boxing match against the undefeated Floyd Mayweather. The proposition was akin to a shark leaving the ocean to challenge a lion on land. The McGregor-Mayweather bout transformed into a global spectacle that transcended both boxing and MMA. Critics and boxing purists scoffed at the idea, predicting a humiliating defeat that would expose the gulf in skill between the two disciplines. Yet, the allure of the impossible drew fans and casual observers alike. As the fight drew nearer, eyebrows were raised by McGregor's unorthodox approach to training. Reports emerged of late-night parties and lavish spending sprees, which isn't usually associated with the dedication needed to prepare for a fight. The lines between Conor McGregor the person and the notorious persona began to blur, raising questions about his focus and commitment. But despite the skepticism and controversy, the McGregor-Mayweather fight became a financial juggernaut. The event generated a staggering live gate of $55 million, securing his place as the second biggest in boxing history. Pay-per-view numbers soared to 4.3 million buys. McGregor's total earnings from the fight exceeded 130 million when factoring in pay-per-view, sponsorships, and merchandise sales. The fight itself exceeded the low expectations set by McGregor's detractors. For 10 rounds, the MMA star held his own against the boxing maestro, showcasing a level of skill and tenacity that surprised many observers. However, Mayweather's experience and precision ultimately proved too much, with the referee stepping in to stop the fight in the 10th round. In the aftermath, the combat sports world waited to see how McGregor would respond to this new chapter in his career. Would the defeat reignite his hunger for MMA glory, or would the unprecedented windfall change his priorities forever? UFC President Dana White offered a candid assessment, saying, "Conor might never fight again. The guy's got 100 fucking million. I've got guys that made less than that and were lawyers and went to school their whole lives and never quit working." Dana's words proved prophetic. McGregor seemed to lose himself in a whirlwind of excess and indulgence. That once hungry fighter from the streets of Dublin now found himself at the helm of a burgeoning business empire. Whiskey brands, fashion lines, and endorsement deals competed for his attention, pulling him even further away from the grueling discipline of professional fighting. As months turned into years, the MMA community began to wonder if they would ever see the same driven, focused fighter who had taken a sport by storm. The Mayweather fight, whilst the financial windfall, had fundamentally altered McGregor's relationship with combat sports. The excesses of the notorious seemed to consume the dedicated athlete who had once inspired millions. Then came the rivalry between Conor and Khabib Nurmagomedov. It began as a fierce competition between two of the UFC's most dominant fighters, but soon spiraled into a venomous feud that would leave an indelible mark on the sport. The turning point came on a fateful day in Brooklyn. McGregor and his entourage descended upon the Barclays Center, targeting a bus carrying Nurmagomedov and other fighters. The Irishman's rage, fueled by a confrontation between Khabib and McGregor's teammate Artem Lobov, manifested in a reckless assault as a metal dolly shattered the bus window, injuring several fighters inside. The MMA community reeled in shock. UFC President Dana White condemned McGregor's actions as the most disgusting thing that ever happened in the history of the company. Behind the scenes, Conor's preparation for UFC 229 was beginning to falter. The laser focus that had propelled him to simultaneous 2-division championship status wavered. His training camp, once a model of discipline and innovation, now appeared lackluster, with the distractions of fame, legal troubles, and an ever-growing business empire threatening to derail the career of MMA's most promising star. When the cage door finally closed, the contrast between the two fighters was stark. Nurmagomedov implemented a suffocating game plan, while McGregor found himself on the defensive from the opening bell. The Russian's relentless pressure and superior grappling left the former 2-division champion looking mortal for the first time in his UFC career. As the fight progressed, it became clear that Conor was outmatched. The 4th round saw Nurmagomedov secure a neck crank, forcing the proud Irishman to tap out. The submission loss was a humbling moment for Conor, whose aura of invincibility had been shattered in front of millions of viewers worldwide. The drama was far from over, however, as Khabib leaped over the cage immediately after his victory, igniting a brawl that spilled into the crowd. The chaotic scene that unfolded tarnished what should have been a defining moment in both fighters' careers. As punches flew and security scrambled to restore order, the ugliness of the feud was laid bare for all to see. The consequences of that night reverberated far beyond the octagon. McGregor faced a $50,000 fine and a 6-month suspension from the Nevada State Athletic Commission for his role in the post-fight melee, but the true cost to his reputation and his legacy would prove far more significant. As the dust settled from the Khabib saga, Conor McGregor's life began to unravel at an alarming pace. The once unstoppable force in the octagon now found himself grappling with a different kind of opponent, his own demons. The world watched in disbelief as the charismatic Irishman's star, which had burned so brightly, began to flicker and fade. In 2019, a disturbing incident at the Maple Arch pub in Dublin sent shockwaves through the MMA community. McGregor, the man who once commanded respect with his lightning-fast reflexes and razor-sharp wit, now made headlines for punching a 50-year-old man who had refused a shot of his whiskey. The security footage went viral quickly and revealed that Conor was seemingly out of control, lashing out at the slightest provocation. The fallout was swift and severe. Conor pleaded guilty to assault and was slapped with a €1,000 fine, but the real cost was to his reputation. Fans who had once cheered his every move now questioned the character of their hero. The incident at the pub, however, was just the tip of the iceberg in a series of troubling events that painted the picture of a man spiraling out of control. And as McGregor's behavior outside the octagon became increasingly erratic, his performances inside began to suffer. The fighter who had once moved with the grace of a predator now seemed a step behind, his timing off, his legendary left hand no longer finding its mark with the same devastating accuracy. In January 2021, Dustin Poirier handed McGregor his first TKO loss in a shocking upset that left fans and analysts wondering if the former champ had lost his competitive edge. But it was events outside the cage that once again cemented Conor's fall from grace. In 2020, the fighter found himself in handcuffs on the French island of Corsica, arrested on suspicion of attempted sexual assault and indecent exposure, though he was released without charges after 2 days due to insufficient evidence. The hits kept coming. In June 2023, another accusation of assault surfaced, this time allegedly occurring in a restroom at the Miami Heat arena during an NBA Finals game. While the state attorney's office ultimately decided not to pursue charges due to insufficient evidence, the damage to McGregor's public image was already done. As the legal troubles mounted, McGregor's empire began to crumble. Sponsors who had once clamored to be associated with him now distanced themselves from the controversial star. IO Interactive, the company behind the Hitman video game series, cut ties with McGregor, dealing a significant blow to his carefully crafted brand. In July 2021, McGregor suffered a gruesome leg break in his trilogy fight with Dustin Poirier, an injury that would sideline him for years and raise questions about his future in the sport. As he recovered, his social media presence became increasingly erratic, with rambling posts and deleted tweets hinting at a man struggling to come to terms with his new reality. On November 22nd, 2024, a jury found Conor liable for assaulting a woman in a Dublin hotel. The $250,000 fee in damages was a drop in the bucket compared to the cost to his reputation, but the real story lay in the details that emerged during the trial, painting a picture of a man who had lost his way before he lost his title. McGregor's response to the verdict was predictably defiant, stating, "I am disappointed that the jury did not hear all the evidence that the DPP reviewed." He declared, vowing to appeal, but his words rang hollow in the face of mounting evidence and public outrage. Major retailers, sensing the changing winds, took action. Tesco and Wetherspoons, pillars of the British and Irish retail landscape, pulled Conor's whiskey and stout brands from their shelves. The civil verdict, whilst not carrying the same weight as a criminal conviction, opened the door for potential further legal challenges. McGregor's future in the UFC, already in question due to injuries and declining performance, now seemed more uncertain than ever. The organisation, acutely aware of public sentiment, faced difficult decisions about their once most prized asset. The man who had embodied the dreams of working class Dublin had become a cautionary tale, a dark reminder of just how quickly fortunes can change. Conor McGregor's fall from MMA stardom to convicted felon serves as a reminder of unchecked power's perils. His story, once inspirational, now stands as a cautionary tale. Like the streets of Dublin, where his journey began, McGregor's story wins through glory and ruin, leaving us to ponder what is the true cost of fame and how will we shape the future of sports hero culture.